We should kick this off.
Welcome back. Wait a minute. That's not this
We've
show.
never been here before.
No, we haven't. This is weird. This is new. How are you doing today?
I am doing well.
We're not playing a game today. We're doing a podcast.
This is very true.
We've replaced our baby boy, Jeff and Josh, because, well, I don't know, various reasons, but now we're back with something that we've wanted to do for a long time, which is a tech podcast. You probably saw the title card. Roll that again. Just kidding. Technically correct. And as far as I know, we don't really have a super concrete plan.
Not really right now.
This being the first episode, we're just kind of winging it, and then we'll play it by ear. But
Indeed.
We just wanted to have a place where we could talk a little bit of tech, maybe talk a little bit of reviews of some products that we like.
Indeed.
If the time arises, we're getting a call from my wife.
Go for it.
Hey, guy, you carry the show. Hello.
So today we're probably going to talk a little bit about some processors. We'll be looking at some AMD, their newest 7nm architecture, which is blowing Intel out of the water in all markets, including mobile, consumer, and professional, server-grade hardware as well. And Nathan's back.
What are we talking about, everybody?
We're talking about processors.
Oh, yes. Ain't that the topic of the week?
It is really AMD's 7nm architecture.
Yeah.
And they're...
Now, okay, tell me this, though.
Yep.
Like, I feel like Intel has tried 7nm, right? Because they're still on 10.
Yes.
And they haven't done it. But their argument was that they were able to make just as good a processor. Like, they didn't need to go to 7nm yet.
I believe so.
So what is it buying AMD to actually implement the Intel? I mean, the 7, other than just the bragging rights, right? Like, we actually did it.
Yeah, that's really true. I don't know why that is, because, yeah, if they truly can make the same chip, as good of a chip with 10, I don't know why they would go 7, except to say they can't, unless they've figured out some other... pro of doing it in 7nm.
Like, I mean, obviously they're getting i9s even into laptops now, so space isn't really an issue per se. Does it have implications for maybe the mobile phone market, or does it
may
save on power?
I'm thinking the power and heat may be part of it, because I think every time you shrink that, you're going to drop your power consumption and heat production. Which
the size of like die on chip was the part of Moore's law, right? That kind of stopped. As well as just the computational power in general, because people shifted focus over to power consumption and dropping that. So
that's why I feel like we haven't seen many big jumps in processing performances, because everyone's been trying to optimize the power usage down instead of the performance up.
Right. Which is good, because, I mean, you could like heat a small warehouse with an AMD processor from like 5 years ago. I mean, even now, the Ryzen series are super power hungry.
I can't remember what the TDP is on those, but it's...
let's see, like maybe Ryzen 5?
Yeah.
2600 maybe?
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, to be fair, Intel... I mean, they've had a pretty good TDP for a while. Like, they were spicy, and then they worked on getting it down. I can't. This is one of those pages you can't leave. There's no ARC for
which
AMD,
is sad.
Which I don't know. What does Noah to do without his ARC? Do you see a TDP? Oh, 65 watts. Okay,
that's
actually
not terrible.
That's not terrible. That's way worse than the PC Master Race subreddit would lead me to believe.
That's true, but I think Ryzen was a big jump in that direction.
You're right.
The gen before Ryzen was way higher. I can't remember the Threadripper.
Those which are still same gen as Ryzen, right?
That is true.
Maybe the 2956X, which, to be fair, the 9900K is 95 watt TDP.
Yeah, but that's 180. This Threadripper is 180.
Not go to this page.
It says right there.
180. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's like double what Intel's top-end consumer chip is.
Which, I mean, this is a hexa-core, and theirs was an octa-core hyper-threaded, so...
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. They definitely have the efficiency down, and I don't know how much that translates into, like, the workstation considerations, because I think a lot of times professionals would rather have more power consumed.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about like a server farm,
Yeah.
I think that's where it starts to get a little more interesting. And
really
so
does.
you were saying something about AMD now having server grade with this Ryzen
Yes,
3 lineup.
It sounds like it. It sounds like they have server grade and mobile chips all coming out in this
Really?
lineup, which is going to be really interesting because I've never thought of AMD as a mobile
Or server.
Yeah, really, that's really true. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have the Intel Xeons that
Right.
you've always think of as server stuff, and I've never thought of AMD as that. So that's cool to see them pushing into the market there. Hopefully that'll give Intel some competition
Yeah.
and bring prices down.
Boy, because our boys in blue have not innovated in a while, I don't feel like.
I feel like
Something tells
seventh
me-
gen they did that bump to 6-core i5s and stuff like that.
But that was kind of predicated by Ryzen.
Exactly.
Which makes me think they've been sitting on that.
That's what I really feel like. I feel like they've just been waiting because there was like 3 gens there where they're almost the same.
I know.
And then Ryzen came out, they bumped up. And so now with this bump, I'm hoping that Intel is either sitting on something or is going to really have to drop prices or innovate something to get to the point where it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, they released that 9900, was it 9900X or whatever it was? That was like an updated version of the 9900K. But really, it was just like they played the silicon lottery for you. They picked a good chip and then they bumped it up to
turbo clock
5
to
across
5
all
gigahertz.
cores instead of 2 cores. And then the
Exactly.
base clock up to like 4.4,
I think it was straight 4.
straight 4 instead of 3.8 or whatever
Yep.
it was. So, I mean, it's like, come on. That's not innovation. That's just you tuning
No.
a couple chips and selling them at a premium.
Exactly.
Which was kind of disappointing. But then again, I don't know if it was like this was their big announcement.
I don't feel
You
like
know,
it is.
It was
I
almost
feel
like a,
it's-
hey, this is available if you don't want to go through. Because let me tell you, as a 9900K owner, tuning that thing is a nightmare, especially with an air cooler.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to Dark Rock because their stuff
That
is
was
great.
amazing,
The Dark
yeah.
Rock Pro is doing its darndest, but man, it's hard to keep that thing cool.
Yep.
So, which actually was a reason I couldn't even open Premiere at one point.
Yes.
Or, well, I could open it. I couldn't render anything out of it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
which, yeah, I actually underclocked a couple of the cores just to get it to
Yeah,
be able to manage. So, I
at
mean,
that,
if
yeah.
they could, if AMD could release something that could be stable at a really high clock speed with a lot of cores, that would be neat.
That would be.
I don't know if I'd want to give up QuickSync.
That's where a lot of my stuff is like I rely on QuickSync for some of my server stuff that I do, for a lot of stuff, hardware, video decoding.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that this just will get Team Blue a
I
reason to
know.
drop prices and actually
Guys.
get some higher clocks and cores out there.
To like actually start innovating again.
Yep.
Interestingly, it looks like AMD skipped 10 nanometer because the Ryzen 3 series was 12.
Oh,
And then they went straight
I
to
did
7.
not know they skipped. Okay,
At least I
interesting.
just saw that here. On the Ryzen 5 2600 was at least built on 12 millimeter nano or architecture.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that's kind of interesting.
That's really interesting.
that they just skipped right over it.
Straight up skipped it.
But the other thing though that I have been thinking is that I've heard stories and legends that the 20 series of NVIDIA graphics cards, like your 2070 and 80s,
Yep.
are way better at H.264.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
Okay.
if I lost QuickSync, but then I got it in my GPU or an equivalent, that's kind of compelling.
That really is too, especially if, I mean, it seems like if it's a graphics card, it's more designed for graphics processing, and you may have a lot more power than a QuickSync would even have.
Right. And that's kind of been my goal for a long time is like, how much can I offload my render process from my CPU to my GPU, which
Exactly.
normally, I mean, even with Resolve, which is getting better and better, it's still only like, I have a 9900K and a 1080 Ti, and I'm seeing like 80% CPU usage and like 30% GPU usage out of
It's just
DaVinci
not being
Resolve.
able to offload it effectively.
Which
yet.
is better than the like 5%, 100% that it used to be.
Yes.
But there's still got a long ways to go.
Yep.
Which always baffles me that like creative professionals in the industry are using this. You know, it's like, how long does it take those guys? I'm sure they have a better workflow with maybe proxy files and stuff. And
I bet you.
I don't know. There's just got to be.
And probably a render farm for spitting out your actual media, I would bet.
Right.
If they're running
actually
8K,
transcode it.
8K, source footage, they're grading that. That's got to be beastly, and they've got to have some sort of larger way to ingest and process that.
Plus, I mean, they have not years, but months of turnaround for I mean, to be fair, they're editing an entire film, but like
Yes.
we usually have like a weekend
That's very
to
true. Yeah.
release a 30-minute podcast. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, I can't even imagine how much footage you'd end up with in the digital space of like after shooting a film, though. Like, you know, how many takes they film, and
Oh yeah.
just having to process all that is kind of insane. But regardless, I mean, I feel like I would still consider myself an Intel fanboy.
Same.
Like to the point where it's almost hard for me to even consider an AMD chip just because I've been using Intel for so long.
Yep.
But I am a huge fan of what they're doing right now, and I'm really excited about Ryzen 5. I think it's... I was really excited when I saw the announcement because I was like, man, if they're adding all this stuff and like this might be the time, like when my 9900K starts to feel old, which may be quite a while, like it might be a red chip that I put in next. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's a whole new motherboard that I'd need. Which, true. I mean, I guess I've upgraded my motherboard every time I've upgraded my CPU anyways, because I went from a 4790K.
Fourth gen to ninth gen.
Fourth gen to ninth gen. So that was, I mean,
humongous jump.
I couldn't even use any of my RAM. I had to use DDR4, which was fine.
The other thing is interesting though is that the i9 9900XE or whatever the last one is that was just released. Isn't that based on the Icy Lake architecture? Or I can't remember what that is.
Well, the 9980XE is not the same as the one that was just announced. Hold on.
Let
me find that one. I chatted it to you.
Yep. I can't remember.
Get this out of here. Don't cut to that. Scroll up. Cut all this out. Garlic salt.
It was right there.
There we go. Tom's Hardware link.
KS. That's what it is.
Okay.
9900 KS. And it's
Ice Lake. You're right. So it is, I mean, it's 10 nanometers, so it's the same as they had before, which means that their Ice Lake series likely won't be 7 nanometer.
Mm-hmm.
But
actually, is the KS Ice Lake though?
No, I think that the benchmark was separate from the KS.
Okay,
it's still the 9 series. Yes. Like it's the same chip, it's just been tuned. But the KS or the Ice Lake is their new architecture. But
so I'm interested to see what Ice Lake will do.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, how much does it really affect me what nanometer it is built on? I couldn't care less. Other than I am a sucker for innovation, but that's not enough for me to jump ship necessarily. It's like if they offer something, a really compelling package at a good price, that's the other thing. Is like the Ryzen series, I've been recommending them to people all the time because they're like, I want to build an affordable gaming rig. And I'm like, that's what you're going to do? Then, you know, get a Ryzen processor because they're a great bang for the buck.
Yeah.
One thing I have been kind of frustrated with them is it seems like they'll be like, look at all of these cores, but those cores aren't nearly as efficient as the Intel ones. So you could get a quad-core hyper-threaded Intel chip and do better than a hexa-core AMD chip.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're just looking at it on paper, it's somewhat deceiving. Not to mention the power consumption and the thermal issues because although I will say that the AMD included in the box coolers are way better than the Intel garbage, which the 9900K didn't even come with a cooler.
No.
They're like, no.
All the Ks now don't come with coolers. I believe. At least the i7 and i9s, they just skip the cooler, and it's just like, you need something else besides a stock for this.
Which I think that's actually a good call, because I don't want to pay for a cooler I'm going to throw in the garbage like I've done with every single chip I've ever bought from Intel. I've never, ever used the stock cooler. So at least with Ryzen you can, because I've seen a lot of people do it, and I think it works.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. That's just a smaller detail, but I do appreciate that, and also the fact they made it look cool because it's got this glowing red circle around it.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Oh, have you seen it? Okay. It's neat. The fan has a ring on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. It's yeah. Anyways, so I think, hello? Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. Hey, Google, turn on the on-air sign.
Sorry, I can't help with that yet.
Turn on the on-air sign.
Okay, turning on the on-air sign.
Nathan, cut all of this out. All right, we're back. After a brief interruption, don't worry about it. Nothing happened there.
Nope.
But yeah, so I mean, we were just talking about stock coolers and like This is a small detail, but I do appreciate that you can. It's actually a usable product.
Yes.
Which saves money. That's where I was going with that. Is like when I'm recommending a desktop build for a friend, usually I'm like, you don't need another cooler if you're just going to get this Ryzen 5. You know, just use the stock cooler, which saves money. I mean, if you're trying to get the best bang for your buck. I've also seen Ryzen chips popping up in laptops more.
Yes, that's true.
Which is neat.
Which makes sense if their TDP is dropped to like an actual decent amount.
Right. Which, I mean, I don't know what an equivalent would be to a Ryzen 5 2600 in the Intel world.
Yeah.
You know what you think? Maybe like an i5.
Yeah, something.
Because it's a 6
that.
core, right? Or is this an
Is
8
it
core?
a-
Core model 8? What does that mean? Hexacore. It's a 64-bit hexacore mid-range. So like, let's say i5 9600,
Yeah,
right? What's the TDP on that? Look at this beautiful art. Beautiful.
I love it.
95 watts. So actually same. No,
Yeah.
higher. Because it was 65 for Ryzen.
65 for Ryzen, yes.
Yeah. So,
But
I
I
mean,
bet this i5 outperforms that.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's true. Because it is an extreme edition, right? I don't know what else. What other was it? 8600K.
You could just do a comparison between that and the Ryzen.
True. But regardless, I mean, I think the power
Yeah.
race is a little closer than people would think, and like basically almost a non-issue at this point.
I
Because
think so.
on the really high end of things, who cares?
Yeah.
You're gonna pay for the power anyways, and on the
Yeah.
really low end of things, they're really close.
Yeah.
If not possibly better. I'm not sure. So yeah, at the end of the day, like that is the trade-off, right? It's like I've been in search of a good laptop for a while because I have a Surface Book which I like, but man, after that Spectre update,
Yeah.
it just nerfed it, and like it has a graphics card technically, but it's one of those like MX series
Oh,
ones.
yes.
It's like a 150 MX or whatever. So it's like. It's actually one of my coworkers did a benchmark, and the i5 in it is better at doing graphics than the 150 MX.
Oh,
So the Intel integrated is actually better. So
That's
I mean,
really sad.
it is technically more power, right? Because you
Yeah.
can use it, but it's like why? So
that's pretty sad if Intel is if integrated graphics beat a dedicated card, then you know something's
It's bad.
sad.
which I don't even think it was exactly the 150 MX because it was a special thing that they made for
The Surface
Book. But
that's right.
regardless, I think it's been hard to find a laptop that I feel is powerful enough that I would be interested in buying it, but has a good enough battery life. Because if you put more than an i5 in it, you're likely going to be sucking down juice
Yeah.
really fast.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off for sure. I mean,
It
that's
is.
why Apple's been running into so many problems with their new MacBooks because they're trying to put
just that
i9s
heat.
in them,
Yeah.
and they can't even cool them because they're not using fans.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a whole
things
nother
are getting
story.
toasty.
Which, okay, here's another thing. This is not in the realm of red versus blue
Yeah.
like we've been talking, but I've always been curious about Apple, right? Because
Yeah.
they've been so historically as a company, they don't really like being in a monogamous relationship with another company.
No.
They like the option to cut anybody out of their lives without affecting themselves, right?
Yep.
So one thing I've always wondered is they are at this moment exclusive with Intel.
Yes.
But they are making incredible processors for their phones. At what point do you think we would see them starting to put an A series chip in like a MacBook Air? Because I personally
That-
feel like an A12 Bionic is like almost there where you could stick it in a lower end MacBook Air and it would be awesome. It would just be sipping on that power very lightly. You could maybe get 2 days of life out of it or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts
That'd
on
be
that?
pretty amazing. I can't remember. Are the A chips what architecture are they?
It's their own.
Okay.
They bought an Israeli company that was making CPUs and
Interesting.
are using them. So it's their own thing, but it's an ARM based.
And it's 7 nanometer.
Yeah, it's 64-bit. So I mean, like,
That's amazing. I think it would take a lot since it's ARM, it would take a lot of development for applications and OS and whatnot to develop onto the ARM.
right, because
Architecture.
Intel architecture, everything's already there. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
But still, it's a 64-bit ARM. That would be pretty amazing if they could get that into a lower end laptop. I mean, even go, an Air,
Yep.
something like that. I
Totally.
mean, those already have stellar battery life. You put something like this in it, and that thing would last for like
for years.
Ever.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, I mean, it's ARM, which typically you can run Linux on fairly easily, and OS X is a Unix based system anyway. So
is.
I just don't know about the applications,
Yep.
like what you were saying. But I don't know. I always feel like that's probably Apple's next move is because they have been switching between Team Green and Team Red for their GPUs for a while. I've seen both. In fact, like the higher end MacBook Pro, or not MacBook, but Mac Pros had NVIDIA GPUs in them for a while.
Yep.
But then their MacBooks would have like AMD stuff in them recently as now, I think. I'm pretty sure all the recent ones did.
Right now they are, yeah.
So they obviously aren't exclusive to one or the other, but I mean, and I don't know if they're ever going to be putting Ryzen chips in their Mac products. That would be interesting.
It would be really interesting, especially with them going towards the mobile side of things.
Yeah.
If they can optimize some power on that and get rid of the thermal issues they're having with Intel's chips, that could be a really interesting turnaround.
Which part of the issue, I don't think we can fully blame Intel for what's happening or at all, really, because the funny thing is you can actually get more performance out of the i7 series MacBook Pros than the i9s because they throttle so badly.
Yeah.
So I think that's just, I think they understand that a lot of people who buy Macs are like, I just want all the power, but they're not like really deep into the weeds of it like we tend to be.
Exactly.
So, but I mean, maybe they would use AMD chips just because they don't want to be exclusive to one company, but I don't know. I would honestly be excited for the day, truly, if they made a MacBook Air with an A12 chip in it.
Yeah.
Also, the convergence of price tags is really getting close on those. Between the iPhone XS Max, which is like $1,500 if you max it out, versus like a MacBook Air, which is like $1,300 if you get a lower end mid.
This is very true.
Your price crossover is already there. Like at what point?
It really is, which is insane. I mean,
it is. I mean, it's kind of stupid actually if you think about it. Like I bought a Galaxy S10 Plus, and like I don't think that phone, if Apple wasn't around, would have cost $1,000.
I doubt it.
I mean, the other funny thing is like OnePlus. You know, OnePlus is doing great work out here, and they're still doing great work for a good price. But like $699 is the price now, which is like that's what this Galaxy S10 would have cost in the market without Apple. And you know, it's like I appreciate competition in the market. You know, but like it's getting close to a monopoly.
It's kind of going the other direction from what competition usually creates. I feel like competition, you usually have something comes in lower that's better and the prices all drop. In this case, Apple's setting a bar almost. Yeah. Instead of just creating competition, everyone's trying to get there and selling for that same price point.
Right.
Instead of it actually being something not insane.
It's an interesting spot economically, you know, and I'm not an economist, so I can't really speak to that, but man, it's fascinating when you have like the perceived value is so high for this company. It's like everything they make, everyone thinks it's gold, and it's good. I mean, it's good. I was telling my cousin who was looking into buying one of these, like for the exact same hardware, if you got it in a laptop that was running Windows versus a MacBook, you're going to get more mileage out of it in the MacBook because they control the entire stack. They control the hardware level. They do the PCB design. They do the software, like from the OS to approval of all the apps. And like it's an integrated stack. So it's very streamlined. You get incredible battery life out of it. And it's got longevity, right? Like those laptops last forever.
It's,
Versus Windows ones that feel like every couple of years you should probably reinstall Windows. I mean, lately it's not been that bad. I haven't ever reinstalled Windows on my Surface Book, and I've had it for like 3 years. So it's been doing well, but I mean, there is definitely, and the build quality is second to none. Like, I mean, talk about
they're beautiful that way.
They're great. I mean, I love them. I just. For me personally, and I know it's a personal preference thing, so I'm not going to rail on one company because it's not for me, but I just feel like I can't justify spending the money for what's in it new, at least. Because I know you have a used Mac.
Yep.
That seems like a great way to go.
I picked one up on Craigslist mostly so I could just learn it, and it was not that expensive. But, I mean, it's a late 2011, something like that. And I bought it 2 years ago now. So it was 7... Nope, I can't do math. 6 years old.
Yep.
Something like that when I bought it, and it was $300 and some bucks. You know, 400, right around there.
That's good value hold though.
It really is.
Because a laptop you couldn't give away a Windows machine probably at least with the hardware that's in yours.
Exactly.
So, and it still works great. So, I don't know.
Which is surprising. And I got a Dell XPS a couple of years ago, and I spec'd that out on the Mac side of things with the same hardware, and it was going to be $2,000 for the XPS and $3,500 for the Mac that had the same hardware. And that's where, because I need upper end hardware, it's hard for me to justify the like almost doubling of that price.
Right.
Just for a Mac of the same thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I was on the subreddit for Blender, the animation software, not your kitchen appliance.
Kitchen blenders.
And they were talking about how Blender has lately been integrating a lot of features that like you need multiple software stacks for in the professional world. Like you need Maya for your modeling, and then you need 3ds Max for some stuff, and like you need stuff for texturing. Like there's different software chains you go through for everything, but Blender's been starting to put them all together. And there was a discussion about like, is Blender going to become the industry standard someday? And I think a lot of people were getting lost in the weeds of the price, but in my head, I'm thinking like a creative professional doesn't care what it costs. You know, like especially if you're working in a studio, the studio will spend what it takes to get the software to make the best product. And typically that's somewhat negligible. I mean, if you think about the whole Adobe Creative Cloud suite, it costs what, $60 a month for 2 seats,
something like that.
2 machines that can run at the same time. I mean, that's for a company, that's not that bad.
That's really
and you get an entire stack of software for 2 of your people. So I don't think that the price is ever going to make it compelling for the market. I think the only thing that could make something like that compelling would be the integration of the entire tool chain, and if it was as good as those all in one place, because I think you end up with losses as you're transferring between programs. I mean, we know this.
Yes.
Like, it's good with Adobe, but if you're trying to transfer between other stuff,
or you hand it off something else, it's like you gotta find the exact right format that'll actually import into something else, and you lose things. And
every single time you lose a little bit. So I think it's the same with Macs, though. It's just like people will spend what it takes to get the thing that they want.
Yeah.
And if you're more efficient on a Mac because it's what you know, like, that's worth extra money.
Time is worth money. There. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
it totally makes sense.
But I don't like how they're pushing the cell phone market prices way, way up. I do like how they're pushing the laptop market towards better build quality, because I can't tell you how many plastic laptops I have had over the years where it's like, I just want a magnesium or anodized aluminum laptop, and Microsoft finally answered the call and made it the same price.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it didn't answer the call the way I wanted, but, you know, it's a good machine, though.
It is.
So, regardless, though, I think that's, I don't know. It's an interesting space to be in right now. It's a really exciting time to be a hobbyist, too, building laptops or desktops, because, I mean, you and I have been doing that for years, but now it's like, think about the depth and breadth of... I just think the GPU market needs some spice. Like, AMD's doing it in the CPU, start doing it on the GPU, because the last several GPUs they've released have been bad, real bad. And NVIDIA is just getting away with murder out here. Every single generation jacking up the price again, and like, I don't know. It's that part's tough. And then the mining thing didn't help.
It did not at all.
It's calmed down a lot since Bitcoin. Did you invest in Bitcoin?
I bought a couple cards and mined Bitcoin for a while.
Okay. How much did you get?
I think I got a few $100 out of it, which was nowhere close to what I paid for the cards, because I bought a 1080 like in a nice spike of mining era, which was like $750 or something like that for a normal 1080. Yeah, and that hurt.
But at least you can still use it for other stuff.
Exactly,
versus
and
like
that's
those
why
ant miners or whatever that's all they can do. So.
And which is great, because I do a lot of editing and stuff that way, so I use that a lot. Gaming, all that stuff, it uses that, and it's great. So
but
I earned a few $100 back. It made me happy.
Sure, maybe brought those cards closer to retail at least.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
But do we have any products you wanted to review today?
I don't know that I do. I have one will be arriving in the next few weeks, hopefully, and I'll be excited to review that then. Okay. But I don't know that I have anything today.
I have one to talk about, my friend.
Okay.
I want to talk about Blink.
Blink.
Indeed. The Amazon company that makes cameras. Probably didn't used to be an Amazon company. I think they got bought out.
Probably.
But let me pull this up real quick. I recently purchased some Blink cameras. 1 outdoor camera and 3 indoor cameras. And I don't know. I think they are great for me. They're interesting because they're not like a traditional security camera. I mean, you can in the app, you can look at all of your camera feeds, but they're not live. You have to tap a little button to have it update the current screenshot, and then it basically just takes a screenshot from your camera.
Yeah.
You can look at them live, but it drains their battery, and that's the big thing about them is they're battery operated, and they last for 2 years on a battery,
Which is
two double A's.
amazing.
So I have, one in my kitchen to watch my dog as she steals food off the counter. I have one on the back porch to watch my dog as she chews on sticks on the back porch. And then one in the living room to watch my dog as she pulls the pillows off the couch.
Perfect.
And
Do you have any cameras not to watch your dog?
no, that's pretty
cool,
much why I
cool,
bought them.
cool.
But
That's great.
And then I have one in the entry to watch my dog as she sits on the rug, waits for me to get home, and that one's the most sad. But it's cool because you can schedule them to arm themselves for motion at a certain time. So at midnight they arm themselves, and so if anything moves between midnight and 7:30, it sends you a notification, and then it takes you to the clip, and then lets you watch live right from there. You just tap and say watch live. So
Neat.
That's been a really neat feature
pretty
because
cool.
it's like if something happens in the middle of the night, I'll capture it. So it's a good system. It's a little overpriced, I think. There's maybe like $70 a camera, $80 a camera. But for being battery operated, I think that's wonderful. That you have one hub that I have in my laundry room, and then I have 4 cameras that are all talking to it. I don't like the fact that it doesn't work with Google Home stuff. I have a Google Home with a screen. I can't remember what that's called all of a sudden. Home Hub. And I would love to be able to say like, hey, show me the back porch or whatever. And then it would show me on the screen. But since it's owned by Amazon, it works with all the Alexa products, but not the Google ones. I don't think that's ever going to happen. It does work with IFTTT, but I haven't set up any triggers to integrate with that yet. I think I could have it like take a picture, put it in a Google Drive, bring up the Google Drive on the Google Home. It'd be a really complicated thing, but I possibly could do it.
Yeah.
The other thing I don't like is that I can't schedule the cameras to trigger for motion individually. It's like you can have some of the cameras not be part of when the system is armed. They're not part of it. But
You can't have multiple arm groups. Kind of.
exactly. And the only solution that they offered was buy another hub and then connect some of them to the hub, to one hub, and some to the other hub. But like for me, I have one camera that's outside. So what I want is for all the cameras to be armed overnight, and then only the kitchen camera to be armed during the day, because I want to catch my dog stealing food off the counter.
Exactly.
But I don't really care about tracking her as she moves throughout the house during the back porch like the rest of the day, because she does that all day, and I'm just getting notifications all day. So I can't do that, and I really wish I could. So that seems like a really easy thing to fix in an app update, and I would love for Blink. Everybody at Blink who's watching this, I know there's probably multiple employees.
Dozens.
Please let me do that, and don't tell me to buy another hub, because it's not. You can fix this in an app. I'm an app developer, and I don't know your system, but I'm guessing you can do this.
I feel like that's a pretty straightforward thing to do.
Unless, of course, the only thing I can think of would be if the cameras are just reporting I saw motion to the hub, and then the hub starts recording the clip.
Sure.
In which case, you still could have the hub ignore stuff from other cameras.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely got to be a software.
There's got to be something there.
Regardless, I would say it's worthwhile purchase. Like I benefited from it greatly. They have infrared, so you can have them see in the dark. You can also get those like LifeX bulbs that when they're shut off, they're just full on infrared, so
which are great.
Lights your whole house up. So that's neat. But
the price is really not that bad either. Granted, the security cameras I work with, you have to have a little more infrastructure in place to run them, but they're $85-$90 a pop as well.
Right.
And they're not wireless. You have to run a cable to them and stuff. So this seems like a really nice price point for someone if you don't need the live streaming all the time. You're not trying to constantly keep an eye on something, but rather more reliant on the motion alerts or just checking in, which is great.
Exactly. And you can watch them live if you're checking in. It just drains their battery really fast. So, I don't know. Good purchase. I like the wide angle. I like the HD resolution. The not 4K would be nice, especially if you were like dealing with a car and you're trying to get the license plate or something. But the only concern I personally have, which is more me than anything else, is that I can't physically modify the exterior of my condo due to the HOA rules. I own everything from the studs in, but not the studs out. So if I did attach one on my front porch, I would just have to stick it up with like a command strip because I can't use a screw.
Oh.
Which means it'd be very easy to steal, which
Yep.
is why I haven't done that because I don't want someone to steal my security camera, which is the irony of
valid.
ironies. But like,
Although as they
I'm
walked
afraid
up,
of.
they should trigger a motion alert.
They should.
Record as they take it down, and then you have
Yes.
their face.
Right. But I've heard that a lot of the time the police are like, we have bigger fish to fry, which I totally understand.
That makes sense. Yeah. I stole an $80 camera and all the other things they got going on.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Have you seen that video of the guy who rigs a fake HomePod box to deploy glitter and stink spray when someone steals it? That's great. Maybe we'll link that in the description. Mark Rober, you're a genius. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I love that
was
video.
amazing.
So I think that's about all we have time for today.
I figure.
We're sitting pretty at 30 minutes. So that was fun, though.
It was
It
good.
was a good time. I feel like we had a lot to talk about. Yeah, and I don't know what the status of this. We were thinking about doing it live in the future, so keep an eye on that.
be a
Probably
blast.
on Saturdays or Sundays.
Yep.
Probably not consistently.
Probably
and
not.
I don't think I really want to stick us to a really hard and fast schedule, but we'll do this weekly if we can, I would think. But we're both busy people, so it won't always happen. But
Yeah.
anyways, thank you for joining us. We'll try to put links in the description to as many of the things we talked about as we can. But
Yep.
yeah, that was fun.
See what we can do. Yeah. Thanks
Peace
for joining
out.
us for episode 1. Technically correct.